Welcome back to the Freebirds podcast. This is Rachel.
And this is Leanne.
And we're back after a brief hiatus. This is episode 4. So we're back.
Welcome back. Has it really been a whole month?
It's been a whole month. Does it even feel a bit longer than that?
It does. It feels like a lifetime, but it's pretty much the whole month of March since we had an episode.
Yeah, it is.
As hard as we've tried, and we really have tried to get it together, but there has been so much going on for the last month. Yeah. Personally, I mean, not to even mention what's going on in the wider world, but personally, we've just had so much going on. Yeah. It started off early in March.
So early in March, I lost a loved one, so that took up a huge amount of time. And you know, my attention was obviously focused on family.
Of course it was, you
know, so
and
like
you have to take that time.
Of course, it's you have to, and as well, take stock of the amount of time spent as well. You know, doing a lot of the things,
doing other things away from family.
You need to just kind of reground yourself there and come back down to you know what's here and now around you and deal with that and that's
it's the eternal struggle of being a mom, trying to get the priorities right, trying to allocate your time in the right amount in the for the right people at the right time and you know be everything for everybody.
Finding that balance is so difficult, and I find it so hard because I'm a real all-in kind of person. I'll go, you know, full on into things. And then I'm like, oh, my washing needs to be done.
Everything else falls by the wayside.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I have so many other things I need to be prioritising here, you know. So, like just life took over. And then I realised, you know, how much actual time and effort, and I think I just had a bit of a crash, you know. I was like, I need some R&R here. I need some, everything is just too much.
Bit of breathing space.
And I've taken that. And even just with the midterm breaks during February, and then there's now Easter, and then all the stuff that's in between there, we had a lot of
isn't it just typical that when you take that time for R&R that the kids get sick?
So we had some kind of adenoviral thing going on with the youngest, and she'd like a vomiting bug for a week, and that was kind of I guess I was a bit thrown by that. But luckily we got over it.
It doesn't happen often.
It doesn't happen often. I mean, it's so weird. In the last month, we've had 3 bouts of I mean, I wouldn't call 2 of them illness per se. I mean, technically they're a childhood illness, but my kids were fine.
What do they have?
They had chicken pox.
Check that one off the list.
Immunity for life, done. But I know it's different for everyone, but for us, only for the spots you'd never know they had anything. It was just
a breeze.
Yeah.
What would you put that down to?
I think, you know, look, I don't give any, you know, paracetamol or Calpol with fevers.
Yeah.
So I think that's instantly straight away a good thing for the body.
Let them have the fever.
Let them have the fever. It's one day, and it's
as long as the fever's not too high, and
I think
know
once
they're
you're
safe.
comfortable about it and they're not distressed, okay. And look, I always say it, but we're not medical professionals. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not telling you don't give your kid a fever if they think they're going to have some kind of. This is what I did. I'm telling you what I did, and it's literally I don't do that. I don't give them anything, but they're not distressed. My kids breeze through fevers. They don't get very high fevers, maybe 38.5. Okay, it's barely a thing, right? So and actually I don't even know because I don't really use a thermometer. So I just feel them, and they're definitely warmer, you know, as a mum. But their form is fine anyway. So I didn't.
That's the golden rule, I think. Treat the child, not the fever.
Treat the child,
and as long as that child is happy, safe and well, not distressed, not overheating, not uncomfortable. No, uncomfortable is one thing, but not dangerously uncomfortable. And as a mother, you know that line.
You know you have to use your gut instinct on it. And I think, you know, a lot of people will be like, but what about febrile seizures? But you know, there's evidence, and the NICE guidelines all state that antipyretic medicines like Calpols, Nurophens, all those temperature reducing things don't stop febrile seizures. So if your kid's going to get
if they're going to have a febrile seizure, they're going to have a febrile seizure.
And febrile seizures as well are not, they don't cause any brain damage. They've shown that they're kind of benign and they just appear. But look, there are studies there. Obviously,
but
not
you and
I
both attended a lecture years and years back with Jane Donegan where we learned all this, because that's something that I would have been afraid of at the time. But I did learn from a doctor, and we were there together, that we now know the signs to watch out for. We would know what to do if that happened. And that was an important part of my learning journey in how to deal with these kinds of situations. So I'm comfortable. I'm not, a febrile seizure is not something that I would fear, because I know how to handle it if it happened.
And I think people should understand the benefits of a fever. Like, why the body is creating a fever is to kill that pathogen that is trying to like get in there.
I often feel like stopping that fever with the Nurofen or the Calpol is a little bit like shooting your guard dog just as the robbers come into your house.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, especially if the child's fine. Like, why would you? I just personally don't understand the logic. Now that I understand how the body works, I don't understand that logic. I don't get it. I don't get the 4 hourly keep reducing. What is that doing to the body then? Putting it under so much strain.
The body's going to keep trying to have that fever.
To get that fever.
So each time you get it down with the Calpol, the body's going to mount that fever response again.
Because it's trying so desperately to...
In my book, I feel like you're prolonging the period of illness. You know? I mean, in my book, let's get it over with.
Yeah, and look, there are studies that state that illnesses, when the fever is suppressed, are prolonged.
Yes.
You're longer. You're sick for longer.
Yeah. So how long did the chickenpox last?
1 week.
In the oldest child?
In both.
Oh, in both of them?
Yeah. I mean, they're both over it now. Okay. So, like, it starts, well, for me, our experience, it started with a very mild fever, just a bit warm, but form normal. The oldest was a bit tired, so he just kind of had a little rest for one day. And then the next day was back to his normal self, but just spots started to appear. And I was like, oh, what's this? I was like, what is this? So, diagnosed with chickenpox. Right. And
so how long afterwards did the other child get it then?
Oh, it was 2 weeks.
Okay, so she was only exposed
because
after.
The incubation period for chickenpox is about 14 to 16 days. Right. So it's around 2 weeks.
Okay.
So initial exposure, she would have been exposed to him when he started. You're most contagious as well a day right before you have a fever. So the thing about chickenpox is that you could be walking around. You'll never know.
Yeah.
Like,
so he obviously picked that up in school or something.
He got it in school. Yeah, there was a couple of them in school with it. Who obviously found out after they had the spots. And once the spots are up, it's already out there.
It's too late.
Yeah. So, and the time of year it is as well. Generally, it's cyclical. It's a bit like measles. It comes around all the time in a cycle, and it's around April this time of the year that you see chickenpox.
So it is doing the rounds.
It's doing the rounds.
Well, none of mine have ever had it. So but they're at a good age to get it. I would have caught it myself as a child around this age, and I think it's a good age because they get over it so quickly.
Yes.
They're not really all that bothered by it. No. A toy from Smith's makes them forget all about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? And I think it's as well as a couple of, like, they do get itchy, but I think if you keep on a handle with that itch and keep, putting stuff on it, although I didn't do anything during the day, the only thing I did in regards to actually really nursing them was for 3 nights in a row while the rash was kind of blistering up and stuff, I watched that and I just did oat baths with them in the evening before bed. So that is just a handful of oats in an old sock or a pop sock, tied up at the top, and you just let it into the water, and it's really mad. Like, to be honest, I didn't realize
there's some kind of compound.
It's there's these. Oh God, I can't think of the scientific name of it now. But look, it gets kind of like soapy, sapiens or something like that. But that's not what actually soothes the skin. But I don't know if that's how you pronounce this. Someone will probably correct me on that. But look, it's kind of soapy, kind of slimy a bit. It's a bit weird texture.
But that
substance
soothes
comes out
them
of it.
and soothes the itch.
You put that all over the body, and that stops the itch.
Wow.
And I also then applied some bentonite clay because it was lying around the house, and I knew that was a really good clay detoxifier, and it like just helps dry out those spots.
That's one way to reuse that old face mask.
yeah, but don't use your like Nivea face mask. That would not be a good idea. Or any of your store bought.
But I have to say, it is something I would be quite excited to check off my list.
Yes.
With the kids, it's one of the 5 childhood illnesses. The spot. What are they called? The spot. There's a name. Anyway, regardless, I do think it's an important kind of a milestone in childhood.
Yes.
For them to get these particular childhood illnesses. And there's so many benefits. To having that, not just now, as in having immunity to it, but it is lifelong immunity. And there's other benefits later in life for other health reasons as well.
There are. So like, if maybe you get a benefit from having something as a child. So for example, measles, I'm going to just pick measles for a second. That has shown that people who have measles as children have a lower incidence of lymphomas in later life, cancer, certain types of cancers. So, and they've also used the actual measles virus to kill certain types of cancer cells. These studies are on PubMed for anybody who wants to actually look into it.
Yeah, this is not something you're
it's
just
not something
coming
I'm
up
just
with.
making up. So if you were coming in contact, measles, obviously for some people it can be a bit of a difficult one, but for the most people and most children, back before we had a vaccine for measles, was a pretty mild, benign childhood illness, very similar to chickenpox.
I was born in 82, so I know it was before it became a routine vaccine. So we all would have had measles as kids, and it was in fact something that I know my mum would often tell me that our cousins got it, and they called, and we were all brought over to all get it at the same time.
A Brady Bunch measles party.
Exactly. But that's a true story. We were all brought over together so that the cousins and us could all have it at the same time. Well, the cousins had it; they were a little bit ahead of us, but that we, the three of us children, would all get it at the same time, so that it's done.
I didn't get that because I was 85 and I got it. And I would have gotten a booster in primary school then as well for the measles. And what that it does now is that it leaves me and my offspring vulnerable to not having. I don't have natural immunity.
Well, I will say that was a big comfort to me when I was breastfeeding my newborn, that if these illnesses were circulating, I was passing immunity on, because it is dangerous in newborns and vulnerable children. So I was able to pass that on because I do have that immunity. So I do have to say, now that was a comfort to me to know that I had that.
Exactly.
That's another benefit as a mother. Of
the breastfeeding, like, because obviously that's there, the antibodies are in there, and your body mounts that response. Because, so example, I have chickenpox antibodies, but having said that, she still got it, and I'm breastfeeding still my little one. But I mean, I don't know what you'd call this, because it's technically chickenpox, but there's nothing wrong with them. Do you know? So I'm like, there's literally nothing wrong with her. Like, she is just eating normally, laughing, having a laugh. She never touched. She didn't even know she had those spots. Other than when I was changing her in the bath, she was like, oh, what's this?
When she could see them.
When she could see them, she was like, this is, get it off me. And I was like, oh, it's nothing. And then you distract and it's fine. Like, there was no want to scratch. So I don't know whether that was down to what I did with the baths, or I gave Russ talk homeopathy and little pilule day one because I knew she was getting it, and say with him. So I don't know whether that really helped.
I'm sure it did.
I'm sure it did. But so there's loads of things. But for us, it was like that adenovirus, that vomiting bug, just a few weeks back was way worse.
We had the vomiting bug in our house too. That really knocked the kids for 6. I would actually love to hear from people, because my kids haven't had chickenpox. So you had a great experience with it, but I'd love to hear other people's experiences and perspectives on it.
Definitely.
I've had a few people say to me that they got the chickenpox vaccine because they didn't want to deal with it. It was too much hassle, time off work and all that. Some people have had an awful experience with the itching and that type of thing. So I would love to hear from our followers. Let us know, how did you get on with chickenpox? We will again put up a comment box into our stories, or send us a DM, because I want to know. I want to be prepared. I'm hoping that my kids, because they're at a good age now, I'm hoping they will catch it. So I would love as much experience, perspective.
So for those listening, did you as a child have chickenpox? If so, how did you feel about it? Did you cope well? Have your children had it? If so, what have you done to help them get through it? And
or if anybody got the jab,
if you vaccinated against it,
why I would love to know why they didn't want their kids to get it. Because in my experience and my childhood, it was just a routine part of childhood. So I would love to hear from someone who does have that perspective. I'd love to know.
I think it's good to hear the other side and get that perspective. Absolutely. I think it is
actually important. I mean, when we were kids, we were probably about 7 or 8. Me and my sister got chickenpox at the same time, and we were recovered. You still have the spots, but you're not contagious at that stage. The spots
that's something to actually note. Once the spots are scabbed over, the child is not contagious. So if you see a kid out, or my kid, he might have a scab on his forehead, don't worry, he's not contagious. I left him, I kept him out of school, and obviously kept him away.
You did all the things.
Yeah.
But we had the spots had scabbed over. We weren't contagious anymore. But we were on holidays at the time in County Kerry, and Mum brought us to a swimming pool because we had just spent the last week indoors on our holidays and we weren't allowed to go anywhere. But we went to the swimming pool, and me and my sister show up to go swimming with spots all over our bodies. And literally Mum said the entire pool cleared out.
Oh my God.
And everybody jumped out in a panic thinking they were going to catch chickenpox off us. Well, sure, you know, swimming pool to ourselves.
Yeah, happy days. Brilliant. Yeah, let us know your stories. Have you got anything like that? Let us know, because we'd love to hear that.
We had the flu in the house. Well, no, flu / COVID / cold / I don't know. Because we weren't running out to get tested. We recognised the symptoms of it. We know how to handle it. We were all fine. You know, we kept ourselves, you know, I'm going to say isolated, as in we stayed at home and we took care of ourselves, and it only lasted 48 hours and we were fine. You know, so I have to say, having your regular supply in the press of your natural remedies, plenty of vitamin C, vitamin D, what did I use now? Zinc and quercetin I found very, very helpful.
Okay.
Combine those two. I think that it's called the Zelenko protocol. That's for COVID in particular, but it's for any respiratory illness.
Okay.
So high doses of quercetin and zinc supported by high doses of vitamin C and D, and it really did nip it in the bud. I have to say that, you know, the first day of being a bit knocked out, you know, not having any energy, needing
you had
to
a
just
bad
lie
headache.
down. Oh, and the headache was the worst headache I've ever experienced. But like that, it meant I couldn't do anything. You had to just consign yourself to the couch for a day. And it was the same with the kids. They were just knocked out on the couch, put a movie on, cuddle up with a quilt over you. And then the next day they had a bit of a cough. We all got a bit of a cough, but then it was gone. I have to say, it didn't last. There was no lingering effects. We just supported it with nutrients.
And I think that's a story that you're hearing repeated in most families.
Jabbed or no jabbed, I have to say, all my family members or friends who've taken the jab have all had the same illness. Be it they've gotten tested and it was COVID, or anyone who didn't get tested, it's the same symptoms. So to me, I kind of live my life as I did pre-2020. I wasn't running to the doctor to get tested when I got a cough or a cold. I knew it was a cough or a cold, so I just dealt with it as a cough or a cold. You know,
exactly. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting.
Well, we went the whole 2 years. This is what I found striking. We went the whole 2 years and never caught so much as a sniffle. In the whole, quote unquote global pandemic, and now we're at the end of it. All the restrictions are lifted, and now we finally got something.
And then a few other things, but I think that is to do with, they said, you know, several doctors warned 2 years ago, by doing self-isolation, all these kind of social distancing measures, you would see a weakening of immunity in the general population. And we are seeing that now
massively.
Because now you have a resurgence of everything all at once, because everyone's come back in to the kind of
mixing properly the way we used to.
Properly mixing. And now people's immunity have waned on certain things, and you know, people will be coming in contact, say, with chickenpox a lot, you know, so you would keep it generally kind of away from younger kids, right? Because more people are elderly people. But now you have loads of people who've weakened immunities because they haven't been around people. They haven't had the boost. You know, they've missed 2 years of chickenpox.
And especially because we've kept kids away from adults. A lot. Because seriously, a lot of adults wouldn't have wanted it, or they've kept their distance from children because they see them as, you know, quote unquote, again, I hate this word, carriers, you know. So they haven't had their regular exposure to things like chickenpox. So they haven't had their shingles boost.
Exactly.
You know?
This is it.
This is how the body works. We have to respect.
This is how nature works. And how we have evolved. We need to respect that.
And stop interfering with that process, you know, in my opinion anyway. I think we do.
I would be the same.
But apart from all those issues going on in our own personal lives, I think it's worth mentioning what on earth has happened in the wider world in March.
Oh my god. I don't even know.
Well, since our last episode, before the natural living episode, was all about the masks and whether they would lift the mask mandates and what was going to happen. And in the last month, everything has been lifted.
Like
the mask mandate is gone. All restrictions are gone. The emergency powers are gone, and it's like none of it ever happened. The stickers have been pulled up off the ground. The signage has been removed. The kids are back mixing again. There's no pods, and it's incredible.
Yeah. Just like that. It's safe. Wasn't yesterday, it is today.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
No, and do you know what I love to see? There are still so many people who will still wear their masks in all these different situations, whether it's retail or on the bus or on the street or wherever.
Yeah.
But what I love to see is that's their choice.
Yeah.
And that is how it should always have been.
Yeah.
We should never, because look, there is still quite a high level of compliance in a lot of areas. Yeah. They never had to force us.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do that to us.
Oh, but it doesn't work if you're not wearing it. Everyone, that's what Claire Byrne said. But
Claire Byrne, who's back in her shed with COVID again.
Yeah, after her 3 jobs, I presume. You know, like, oh my God, you couldn't make it up.
It defies logic and common sense, and I can't.
It's insane.
But all of that has lifted. Yes. I mean, how has that made you feel? I will say, as such an immense campaigner and contributor to really doing so much to help people through this and lift people's spirits and try to take action between petitions and protests and all the campaigning you've done. When all the restrictions were lifted, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, I just felt, I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. I felt like, well, that was their plan all along. You know, I feel like, I could claim, it was something to do with the petition, but like,
no, okay.
You know, I don't know. I know what you mean. Like, how did it make me feel?
How do you feel?
Obviously, I felt relieved because I was like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do petitions. I have a bit of a break, please give me a break, because I try and just say so consistent, and if I commit to something, I'm going to commit to it, you know? And then,
you did.
And then I was suddenly in it, you know, in this whole thing of activism, which it just fell on top of me, to be honest.
It's not something you'd ever
done
before.
It's not something I actually thought I would end up doing. I mean, maybe I did subconsciously. I don't know. It just evolved to that point. Mm-hmm. And then when it all stopped, I actually just completely switched off. I think I just had a moment where I was like, I'm done for the moment. I need to be done for this for a moment. If they're stopping out there, I need to stop here, because I need to like I said, or. I was completely burnt out. Yeah. And I was on another level altogether. Like, my brain was just constantly on the go, and I realized how much of that time I'd spent and everything. So like, I was relieved.
It was a good opportunity, I felt, to reassess.
It was practice.
Oh really? What's coming, Rachel?
Oh my God! Look, we know they're not over, and this whole
pandemic. What's it called? Treaty. The pandemic preparedness treaty.
Response and prevention preparedness response treaty by the WHO. I think something like that. And it is like
that's going to be the next hurdle, you think?
Yeah.
But really let's not get into that now, because that is
because we're in our period of freedom, and I'm just going to pretend we're in a bit of a bubble for a moment of my life.
Obviously, things are not over. Obviously, there's so much going on in the world. You know, there is the war in Ukraine. We won't even stop to talk about that. You could talk all day about that. Yeah. But I felt an opportunity to now take this break. If they're giving us a period of freedom, quote unquote, let's use that ourselves. Let's take a breath. Yeah. I really felt I needed to reassess what I was doing, as regards to my Instagram page even, and as regards to personally where I go from here, how I'm going to approach all of this. You know, there was a lot of relationships and friendships that had suffered through COVID, you know. What do you do about those things? You know, there was a lot of personal issues to work through as well, as it felt like COVID was coming to an end. Whatever the next phase is, I needed to take a breather. I needed to stop, take a mental break, take an emotional break, and you know, and also even the last month break from our podcast, it helped as well for, you know, to reformulate and reassess where we're going to go from here. You know, it's hard to get motivated. It's hard to keep when it's been such a struggle. But when you're fighting, you're always motivated because the fight motivates you. And as the fight felt like it was coming to a close, whatever the next step was, there was a break from the battle. There was a little respite. it's hard to bring the motivation back again. You know, you really just want to take that break,
because you're kind of working on like that. It's motivation and it's drive to survive, even though it's obviously that's a bit of a strong word. Obviously nobody was like coming at me, but that instinctual fight of, hold on, you're closing in on me. That's why we saw less people on the street at the last protest, because for everyone that instinctual feel like it's
everybody just wanted to
just step away from it. Close the book. People, you can't keep pushing through and doing these kind of things without burning out and you're only human. You want to go back to normal, you know. You want to feel normal, and that's what people are doing, and I think that's understandable. As you know,
I've suffered, and I know you have, with a serious shadow ban and censorship on my Instagram page.
It makes it so difficult. That's a huge factor as well, because it's like, well, if only like 10 people are seeing, you know, your stuff,
who are you talking to? I've 20,000 people on my page, and maybe 600 people were seeing my posts and stories. I mean, that's the level of censorship that they've put me under. It's incredible. And that makes it really hard to keep going, because it feels like, what's the point? And in order to break the shadow ban, I mean, you're told you have to do all these things.
I don't think it works, though.
No, I don't think it does. I think you just have to ride out this jail time.
I've seen
people saying you need to put up boob pictures. Nobody wants to see that after 6 years of breastfeeding 3 children. Nobody. So that's not happening. Reels are supposed to help. So I was like, okay, well, let me think of the most boring, mundane things that I can put into a reel. I'm chopping my vegetables and preparing vegetables for the freezer, and I recorded it.
No, next time when you're chopping your vegetables, you got to do a TikTok dance and put a mad filter on and do crazy things, and then we'll hear some treats from you.
I'm so trending. But actually it was quite helpful. A lot of people, the few people who do see my content actually found it quite helpful in how to, or what the steps to do to prepare these vegetables. So it kind of led me into looking into, you know, well, maybe I could focus on a different type of content for a while, you know. I'm personally growing my seeds at the moment, you are too, for my allotment, and, you know, to prepare, have some vegetables for the summer and for longer term. So I did a few reels on that. Here's how you plant a seed, you know? Again, people found that really helpful.
Oh, it is. It really is. You know, things like that are really helpful. And I would have loved to have, I do watch, like, you know, there are things that I would watch anyway, you know? And
that's really boring. I feel like so old when I say that.
But you do, like, I mean, I would have known how to plant, I of course I know how to plant a seed, but in little nuances like how deep you plant the seed, or how often you water the seed, like little things like that I didn't know. I was like,
last year when I did this for the first time, I killed every single one of my seeds that I planted for almost the whole season.
Oh no!
I destroyed them because I overwatered everything, and I gave them all root rot. And I rotted the leaves because I left them soaking wet. I did it all wrong because I was sprinkling little seed sprouts from above with too much water. And I couldn't figure out why I was killing everything. So thankfully that year has, because I haven't killed a single seed this year, that year really served me well. So I actually find that really helpful to throw out a tip like that to people who may not know that they don't have to make the mistakes I made, you know. So I found actually this little change in content is good for me. I'm not in a battle anymore. I'm not fighting. I'm just sharing things that I've learned with people, and people are benefiting from that. And that speaks to me. You know, I like helping people. I like educating people. It's what I do. You know, so I am I'm one of the best posts that I really feel fulfilled by. You don't often get fulfilled by an Instagram post, but I did a post on farms.
Oh my God, this was brilliant. This was so good.
Well, I'll tell you how it came about. Good. 2 of my friends randomly, separately tagged a farm that I had never heard of on their personal stories. I'm just flicking through stories and I see this farm tagged, and then ignored it, didn't think anything of it, until another friend tagged in the same farm, and they were entirely unconnected posts. And I went, oh, I actually should really look into this now. That's twice I've seen that. And looked into it and discovered this is a local farm to me that raises their herds ethically, sustainably, regeneratively, and they sell their meat to they have a catchment area that they deliver their meat to. You can buy boxes of meat that's organic for all intents and purposes. You know, there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through to get organic certification, but for all intents and purposes they're organic. And I said, oh my God, this is something I need to look into. And then the light bulb went off. There's a farm nearby that I can buy this meat from that's organic and sustainable, and the farm is regenerative, and they take care of their herds, and and I didn't know about it. How many more people out there have a farm nearby that they don't know about? I would 100% like to support my local farmer if I knew who my local farmer was.
Yeah.
But I don't. I live in a housing estate. I'm not all that connected to my rural community.
Yeah.
So I said, right, well, let's do this then. Yeah. Let's find out who are the local farms. I asked everybody to send me a DM or comment their local farms. I pulled them all together in a post that people could find their local farms from I've nearly every county in Ireland, or at least every region, where everyone can find their local farm, and they're all tagged in there. So if anyone wants to see it, go to Informed Consent Ireland and you'll see there's 2 posts on your local farms. And Rachel, to me, this is the solution. Yeah. Everybody is worried and scared about supply chain disruption and food shortages and crises and empty supermarket shelves. Yeah. If you know your local farmer, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We if we support our local farmer, if we give them our money, and they will support us, they give us food to sustain our families. Yeah. It's this perfect circle. Yeah, we support them, they support us. Yep. We keep them in business, because the problem with farms in Ireland is the supermarkets are selling meat so cheaply, and fruit and vegetables, 49 cents for fruit and vegetables. And I buy organic mince from Lidl right now, and it's $3.50. How can you sell organic mince for €3.50? And I asked this question actually to the Belty farm. I spoke to Quiva at the Belty farm when I was ordering meat, and I said, how are they able to do that? And she said, they're going out of business. Yeah. These farms are going out of business. They're operating at a loss at the end of every year so that they can just supply to these supermarkets. So the farms are going out of business.
Shocking, really.
But if we personally support these farms, if we can go to our local farmer,
bypass those supermarkets
completely, then empty supermarket shelves don't matter, because we are going directly to our local farmer. We're buying our meat, our fruit, our vegetables directly from them. And then there's a lot of farms who even import. I know Green Earth Organics, they're based in Galway, but they deliver nationwide. They also import. So you can buy your olive oil from Italy and your avocados and oranges, you know, things that don't grow here. Yeah. They'll import them in as well and put them into your delivery. Yeah. And again, they are zero waste. You know, everything comes in a box and you give that box back to them. They use zero plastic. It's incredible what they do to help us, and I think we really owe a debt to the farmers to support them as well now.
Absolutely agree.
You know? Yeah, I mean, the prices in the supermarket, people say, oh, it's too expensive. It's so much more expensive than the supermarket. But the supermarket prices are going up, up, up. So here's your opportunity now to, instead of paying that price to the supermarket, to pay that price now to your local farmer and sustain them, and they will sustain you in return. Yeah, you know,
it's a no-brainer.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. So I have to say that really gave me a huge amount of drive to do more of that kind of thing. Yeah. So like I said, go on to Informed Consent. We'll tag the post on the Free Birds page so you can find it there too. And please, everybody, go support your local farmer. Let's, supply chain disruptions, they don't matter if we're supporting our local farmers or buying from a farmer's market.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the farmers markets around the country are amazing. So I think people should locate where their nearest one is and go. You know, they usually are every weekend, or sometimes they're in the evenings during the week. Yeah. And just go there and start.
And it's a great opportunity to talk to the people behind those stalls, because they are the farmers. So you can get to know them. Ask them where. You know, is there anywhere else that they sell? Or is there farm nearby? Can you buy directly from them? It's a good chance to have.
And
a
you
chat
can
with
get
them.
everything at your market. You can get your cleaning supplies. You can get your meat. You can get your fish. You can get your vegetables. You can get
eggs,
raw milk, cheeses, artisan goods, organic breads. Everything is there for you to make your own foods at home. Like
it's a lovely little day out. It's a nice little morning out with the family. Lovely. The kids love it. So, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So farmers markets, and order your veg boxes, guys. Yeah. And there'll be no issues with food.
Well, look, we're in again, Leo gave us the valued phrase,
period of freedom.
We're in a period of freedom. Let's enjoy it. But it's a good opportunity, I think, to start preparing ourselves for what may or may not come next.
Yeah. I mean, these skills are things we should know anyway, regardless if there's an apocalypse on the way. Who knows? But I think, learning how to grow your own food and managing something like that, even on a small scale, it doesn't matter how small, because if it ever did get bigger, at least you have that skill. You know what you're doing. You're not starting and scrambling and panicking in the midst of like the worst time you can try and figure out.
I am not speaking from an altar here, guys. I live in a housing estate and I don't have a garden.
Yeah.
But I at the moment I'm growing everything on my windowsill. I have pots on my balcony, and then I have an allotment, which is from my county council that I can plant out into.
Makes it more relatable because we're not experts growing.
Oh, absolutely
like
not.
I am not. You know,
I started this last year.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like 2 years ago, and you know, you only get to do it kind of practicing every kind of year. You know, so it's every season. So you're not by any means.
We're not speaking from a pedestal here. We are literally trying to develop these skills as we go along.
So we can do it with us. You know, let's all do it together, and like, you know, let us know how you get on. If you are planting seeds, engage with the page and let us know how you are. Send your pictures in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tag us in them.
Tag us in your photos. Send your pictures in and let's see how you are getting on. And let's create a big thing out of this.
If you share your reels with us, we can tag them on our page, and everybody else, all of our followers can benefit from what you are doing.
And then you will feel motivated because you'll feel part of something that's actually, you know, grown a bit of legs here. Excuse the pun.
Well, it's another important thing that we should be doing in this period of freedom is building community. Let's build more communities, guys. I want to connect more with people offline as well as online. You know, I want to find real life connections, real friends, groups of people that we can go on play dates with and that we can share seeds with. And you know, I know this sounds really boring and mammyish, but that's what I want, and I think that's what the new community could be based on.
I think a lot of people want to do that. The old values. Let's step back a bit. We're bombarded all the time with technology. Technology is the way forward. Technology, everything's going to take over the Internet of Things. No.
I just want to go back to farming.
I was like, I put up a poll on my page. I was like, anybody want to like turn Amish right now? I was like, where's my horse and cart? You know, I do not want to be connected to no Internet of Things. I want to just grow my own veg and actually just. I think technology is good, but I think we need to stop.
To an extent, we could use it to help our lives, not to take over our lives.
It's like we're gonna have War of the Machines in about 10 years' time. I'm practicing now when I have to, like, you know, fight robots
with our celery that we grew. Our windowsill.
Grow this. I don't need that to eat. Oh shit. We don't need anything. That's why they want us to take over the world. I've gone too far.
And let's wrap it up there, guys. Look, building community, I think, is something that we have allowed to evade us. You know, we have because we've spent so much time online. I think a lot of us have lacked the real life connection. We have spent so much time on the internet. You know, we've made connections online, but we have kind of forgotten the skill of building those connections in the real world. So we have an opportunity now that the masks are gone and the travel bans are gone and all those restrictions that were a barrier to communication are now gone. Let's get back out into the real world, you know? Let's have those play dates. Let's get together in groups and gangs and get to know each other again.
Gangs?
Hang around on the street corner with a bag of chips, you know what I mean?
You're wrapping a bandana around your head. We're part of the seed gang. Oh, that's those.
Them seed swappers are back.
They're so dangerous.
Honest to God, we need to put coffee down our time.
I don't know if this has developed. You can hear my hyperness is starting to come out now because I've had coffee. But no, look. We need to get off the internet.
Well, not get off the internet.
Get off that
internet. Don't go too far.
You've been on that too long. Get off that now. Okay, we can use it. Like I said, we can use it.
We can use it to set up a play date. Let's actually have the play date. Okay, so all I'm saying is we have a period of freedom. I think it's a good chance to use it to build some skills, like growing your own food, build some networks and communities. You know, I mean, I'm not going to build a bunker below my house to prep, like, you know, for a zombie apocalypse, you know. But I do think it's a good chance to be a bit budget conscious. We know prices are going to start increasing. Go to the supermarket, stock up, fill your freezer before the prices go up. You know what I'm saying? There's a few good practical things
solutions
you can
here.
do without going crazy and becoming a bunker prepper.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Because you don't want to get panicked as well. I mean,
no, there's no room for panic here, guys. There's not.
No.
Because as we said, there's solutions like supporting your local farmer, which makes supply chain issues non-existent.
Yeah.
So let's be practical. Fill your freezer with food before the prices go up.
Yeah.
Get yourself a big sack of flour. If you're a baker and you can bake your own bread. No harm in having a sack instead of a 1 kilo bag. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? You can stock
20. I have something like 50 kilos in a wardrobe downstairs. I'm like, how much fucking bread am I gonna make?
Well, listen, I'd love to hear from all of our followers. If you're listening to this and you are doing something to prepare for any of these kinds of issues, let us know. Interact with us in our stories. We're going to pop up a comment box.
Yes.
Tell us, what are you doing to prepare? Are you going bunker crazy, or are you being, like myself, Little Miss Practical Pants, and just stocking up on the essentials, the long term, things that don't go off, and fill in the freezer?
Yeah.
I think there is a happy medium there.
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. And send us your photos as well. I want to see pictures.
Tag us.
Images,
tag us in your stuff, and we can share. Like we said, we can share that then with our whole community. Yeah. And we can learn
and
from each other.
When people start seeing everyone else do it, this is how you create a bit of a domino effect. Everyone's like, I'm going to get in and do this. I'm going to involve. So hopefully.
Yeah. But anyway, our next episode, I would love to start thinking and preparing, because we took such a break. I'm ready to go now. And I would love to get into some, really hard hitting issues for people. One of the big things that came up a lot when we first started our podcast, people asked us to talk about the childhood vaccination schedule.
Oh yes.
Now that's a big one.
I touched on that a little bit in my stories a couple of weeks ago.
On your Trust Your Gut page. Okay.
Yeah, I touched on it, gave a little bit of facts.
I mean, is that something you want us to get into? If it is, let us know. Go on to our page, Freebird Podcast, on Instagram, and let us know if you would like us to get into that. Or indeed, we can pop up a comment box and let us know if there's other issues you want us to talk about here.
Yeah. Or any specific questions about that childhood schedule. The thing is about this childhood schedule, it is like a really big subject. So
and I think we are only qualified to talk about our own experiences of it
and understandings of it. So that exactly.
Rather than we're obviously not going to be telling anybody what to do, but we can talk about our own approaches to it.
Yeah,
you know.
I think, look,
so if that's something you would like us to get into, go over to our Instagram page and let us know. Okay, so thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we will chat to you in our next episode.
Talk to you then.
Bye.